Good evening and welcome to this live webinar where we have a talk by Mr. Sreejit Roy, Vice President Global Build and Move Cloud Application Services, IBM. He will be joining us in a moment. I'll introduce to you in more detail in a while from now. Meanwhile, I shall be making a presentation to you on the one-year MBA program on Digital Enterprise Management. So I am very happy to mention that IIM Udaipur is ranked among the Financial Times 2019 ranking of top 100 Masters in Management program in the world. It is the youngest institute in the world to feature in such a ranking. And as you can see, that there are only 5 IIMs from India who feature in this ranking, and IIM Udaipur is one of them. In addition to this prestigious ranking, IIM Udaipur is also ranked in the prestigious QS World University Ranking 2020. On top of these 2 prestigious international rankings, we are also the fastest management institute to get accredited by AACSB. What it tells us is that we are taking the issue of learning and teaching and quality delivery of program in whatever we do. The program on digital enterprise management, we believe, is one of its kind program. And let me briefly tell a little bit more about it. Both the way we do the business and the businesses we do have fundamentally changed over the past few years. Wave of technology has fueled lots of disruptions around us, and they're happening at an unprecedented scale. While those who get negatively affected by it may lament about it, but also positively affects businesses and industries and creates opportunities for many. And here is an opportunity for everybody, including you. The question is, how do you take advantage of this digital world? How do you capitalize on this? How do you leverage this? We believe this one-year MBA program offered by IIM Udaipur is a unique one, where not only you get to understand the concepts in management, but you understand them in the context of the digital world. And that's what makes it a unique program. It's a one-year MBA program that gives you a management in business administration degree. It's a full-time residential program on campus. And in the selection criteria, apart from other things, it includes you writing a GMAT or a GRE followed by personal interview. The student profile is that you have to be a graduate with a minimum of 3 years of experience. It's important to highlight that while all engineers are welcome to apply, but we are not necessarily looking at graduates in any particular discipline. You know, anybody with a graduate degree with interest in digital world and digital businesses is welcome to apply for this program. The program commences in April 2020. Now, let me briefly tell you about the course structure of the program. So, first of all, in the program, we introduce you to the fundamentals of business management. Then we move on and discuss in the class the concepts that are applied to the digital organization, focusing on emerging concepts, practices, and methods. And then we introduce the concept of data and technology, because that is at the heart of digital. When we say something is digital, we are talking about data and technology. The participants will start appreciating the role and the relevance of these in the digital world and how technologies are involved in creating, managing, and analyzing data. Then it's important to understand how digital can make a difference in the way businesses run. We will understand the implication and the application of digital in a variety of industry verticals such as retail, fintech, manufacturing, and the others. And you'd appreciate that it's very important for all of you to get a hands-on experience of how it's like to work in the digital context by doing projects and simulation. where you will be able to assimilate these concepts that you've learned thus far comprehensively and holistically. So this is how the entire program has been designed, keeping all the aspects of management and digital in mind. So in the previous slide, I talked about the 5 different areas of business management with respect to data and technology. Here you can get to see different courses that are offered under each of these pillars. So just to give you a visual presentation about the courses that are involved here. I'm very happy to say that because we've taken this design of this program extremely seriously, we have an advisory board consisting of very competent and senior industry professionals, including some CEOs who are constantly guiding us on the design of the curriculum that should go in the program. What we're trying to achieve here is that we want to bring to the classroom the real life problems, challenges, issues that are faced by organizations that have anything to do with the digital world, so that the classroom learning, discussion, is become that much more richer. As you can see, that the advisory board consists of very senior professionals from management consulting, from companies such as Accenture and Deloitte, from the consumer companies such as Star TV and Kimberly-Clark. From technology space, we have senior person from IBM, and from startups or the platform players, we have very senior and CEOs of the organization like Quikr, Infosys, and Flipkart. And from academics, we have the Dean of IIM Udaipur represented on the advisory board, and also a member of IIM Udaipur governing board represented on the advisory board. And this is going to tell you that we take this design of the program and the delivery of the program very seriously. Let me now move on and talk about the collaboration of the academia, that is IIM Udaipur, and the industry, and how it has helped in the design of the program. First of all, such a collaboration has helped us in knowledge sharing. So this has given us the opportunity for the faculty members to be able to go to the industry and write cases related to digital, understand the innovations that are taking place, understand the new methods that are adopted by such businesses. And then together with the industry, we are co-creating knowledge that we can bring to the classroom, as well as publish research papers in prestigious journals. Such a collaboration with industry is also extremely helpful for us in the area of doing student projects. Industry professionals can help the students mentor and guide, and as well as, last but not the least, such a collaboration is also extremely helpful in the campus placement. So what I'm trying to put across here is that we have taken the collaboration with industry right from the design to execution to delivery of the program, so that the program is absolutely relevant to the needs of the digital world. Now let me share with you briefly what do we mean by the students project. These projects will basically help the participants understand how to use data and technology, how such an exposure can help you in the managerial decision making. The lab projects will give students an experiential learning of management skills in the context of digital technologies. In addition to lab projects, we also have projects in the area of analytics, and we have projects in the area of technology. While the projects in analytics will help you understand how to deal with complex data, voluminous data, how to make sense of it, how to interpret them, as I said, with the focus of making useful and high quality managerial decisions. Likewise, the projects in technology will also do something similar. When we talk about students' projects in the area of analytics, there could be a variety of them that you could do. For example, such projects could be consumer-facing, a product-facing, or a combination of both. Let me give a small example here. In the past, a sample size of say 30 of 100 was good enough to make inferences. Now we are talking about the opportunity of exploiting the available data of say 1 million data points. The question is, how can we leverage such large number of data points, which are complex and voluminous in nature, to make meaningful inferences, understand different patterns that emerge, and how can businesses take advantage of them in improving their decision making. When it comes to projects in the area of technology application, we are talking about the intersection of technology, industry, and processes. As I mentioned a while ago, that one could be working in a variety of different industries. And within each of the industry, we are talking about various functions that are involved. Now, the question is, how can we leverage high quality technology such as AI or Internet of Things or blockchain to be able to help us in these processes and improve decision making? So these projects will basically test the students' ability to work with technology and understand the impact on business performance, people, etc. Let me talk about a sample technology project that one could be doing. One could perhaps be doing how artificial intelligence, which is a technology, can be used in banking, which is an industry, for loan processing. How can the entire loan processing be improved? Take another example. How can blockchain, which is again a technology, in manufacturing, which is a vertical, industry vertical, for traceability of procurement process? So likewise, there could be a variety of many more of these projects. Here is the sample job description of a company. We have masked the name of the company because it's a real life example. Just to tell you the increasing demand in the field of digital. So typically, after you finish the program, what kind of roles can you expect to get? It could be perhaps a product manager or a business analyst, a program manager, or a business consultant. So in summary, we would like to present that here is a unique opportunity for you to join this program, which has been designed in conjunction with the industry. It's first of its kind that you can think of in the country. And this will enable you for strategic thinking and execution in the digital context. This program is on the campus. We'll have opportunities to learn from peers. And as I mentioned a little while ago, that IIM Udaipur has all the great credentials that I talked about in terms of the accreditation. I would encourage all of you to go through the program's offering in detail and decide and think about it carefully. But we think here is an opportunity for you to get involved in life-changing experience. Thank you for your patience. If you have any questions on this presentation, I encourage you to share them in a Q&A section. And now I will be requesting Mr. Sreejit Roy to deliver his presentation. So over to you, Mr. Roy.
Thank you. Can you hear me and see me?
Yes, we can hear you and see you as well. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry for the there's a lot of echo.
Anyway. You are getting.
I think if everybody else goes on mute, that'll stop, I guess. But anyway, yeah, thank you. So so I want to just to check. Can you guys hear me? Just to check, please. Am I audible? Hello, am I audible? Can somebody confirm?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, thank you. So I'll talk for about 10 minutes, and I want to structure my presentation into 3 questions which we always face in the market in the world which we are in today. The first part is, what is changing? There are different answers to this question. There is no right answer, there is no wrong answer, but I'll give my perspective, and this is my personal perspective on what I think is changing in the marketplace. The second question thereafter comes is, what are those changes, what does it imply for the companies, particularly in the IT sector, in terms of how they should react to those changes? So I would just explain in very short what the IT companies or what the digital companies are doing as a response to the change. And the third thing is, I think where I'll spend probably a little more time, is what does it imply in terms of skills which are required to address those changes which we are seeing, how the companies are reacting to those or anticipating and changing themselves with respect to those market requirements. So let's address the first question. what is changing? And we look at what is changing from three perspectives. One is from the customer's perspective. And I would ask each one of you to look into and ask yourself this a very simple question. What is your expectation today from any supplier or any somebody who's selling you either a product or a service? It is same as what was your last experience from his or her competition. For example, I'll tell you a story where I was talking to one of the CEOs, and he had set up a company for selling clothes online, and there was a return for that component. And I was sitting with him, and he told this person to just go and replace that cloth without asking any question. And I said, how do you know that that person is not just is not a fraud and there's no product issue? He says, I really don't care, primarily because tomorrow, if this person puts anything on the net, then it is negative for me, and I lose 10 customers, which is far more than the cost of a replacement t-shirt. So the last expectation or the last transaction becomes the expectation for every customer, and that's a significant change. So that's the change which we are seeing from a customer's perspective. The second is from a market perspective. We are seeing a significant shift in the market in terms of agility to how the organizations are responding to any change or any market stimuli. It is not about implementing a 10-year SAP program or a 5-year Oracle program. It is about responding to a market change within a few weeks or days at times. And that agility or the investments, the ROI is not always in terms of cost reduction, but in a plethora of other return on investment, which at times has got nothing to do with cost. Just to summarize, what is changing is on three fronts. The customers their last experience is becoming the expectation from their next purchase. Secondly, from a market perspective, the agility and the drivers for investment is no more the cost. And thirdly, from a technology perspective, the shelf life of any technology is anywhere between 6 to 18 months. These three are significant shifts in the market which did not exist if you look back 5 years ago. What does it imply in terms of organizations? How do they react to these changes? The way they react to these changes is again across 4 parameters. What these companies need to deliver, how they deliver, who they deliver with, and how they sell their products. All 4 are changing significantly. So let's take IT for an example. Since I come from technology, I can better explain what we are doing as an IT, not IBM, but overall as the IT as a sector. That if you look back about 5 years, we used to deliver large-scale SAP, Oracle projects, and so on and so forth. But today, majority of your projects are small. They are start, stop, and mostly they are majority in the digital space. It's a significant shift. The reason is not only the fact that probably majority of the companies already have an ERP system, but it is because if you look back into what I spoke about, the agility, and what I spoke about the customer's expectations, if I'm not making my systems digital, if I'm not making systems agile, then I won't survive in this organization or survive in this market. So what we deliver, we as the IT sector, is significantly shifting. How we deliver is also shifting. We used to deliver, many of you who have been in the IT probably will understand that we used to have a methodology called waterfall. Today, it's all about agile and DevOps. So it is again aligned to the fact that I do not start with a fixed set of requirements, but I work with a set of requirements which are ever changing. And that again ties up with the market, that if I'm implementing something across 8 to 12 months or 2 years, my requirements cannot be the same. The third is who you deliver with is also changing. And that's where the team which is on the call comes in. That old school thought about skills are not fully relevant today. You do require the old school skills. Don't get me wrong. You do require mainframe. You do require Java. You do require SAP. You do require Oracle. Everything is required. But how you build those skills today, how you change yourself with respect to the digital agenda is what we need to be careful about when we get into this digital world now. The fourth thing is about how you sell. If you look back about 5 to 10 years, 5 years ago to even 3 years ago, the selling portion used to happen based on the ROI. But today, the sales happen primarily based on first on creating a proof of concept. And once you make the proof of concept scalable or work, then you scale it across the organization, which is a very different model from how we used to run IT as a sector 3 to 4 years ago. Just to summarize, we heard about those 3 changes from a customer, market, and technology perspective. The organizations, at least the IT sector, is significantly investing in what they deliver, how they deliver, who they deliver with, and how they sell those services across to their customers. What does it mean in terms of the skills which we need to build in the digital space? The first, I would just summarize it into 3 broad areas. One is cognitive skills, second is social skills, and the third is technical skills. Let's take one by one. Cognitive as a skill, probably even 3 to 5 years ago, did not exist as a skill, or nobody would talk about a cognitive skill. But today, if I look forward in the next 3 to 5 years, and I've had extensive conversations with it on this topic, you pick up any of the white papers in the market, you will see it is all about man-machine. And there are a lot of conversations about whether in the next X number of years, how much of our work will get automated and how much of machines will take over the work which today man is doing. There is no right or wrong answer. I'm not going to take a position on how much work will move, how much work will be automated. That's debatable. But what it requires is a significant change in skills required, particularly from management graduates. When I grew up and when I did my B school, I had to manually do for example, I take a very simple example. I had to manually balance a balance sheet. There was no other way. And then I would interpret the results of a balance sheet. Today, when we take an MBA grad or we go for hiring, we expect that work to be done by a computer. So the skill we require from a digital employee or the employee of the digital age is around what kind of interpretation skill, what kind of understanding you have that computer is throwing the numbers, and are you able to use that understanding to predict or how the business is going to move in the future. It's a very, very different skill. Do you need to know how to balance a balance sheet? Yes. But that is now probably 10%, 20% of the skill. 80% of the skill we are looking for is, are you able to interpret the data, derive what the data is actually telling you, and then come back to the management and say, this is what the business strategy should be. So use AI, use cognitive over and above what the balance sheet is telling you. And that's one significant shift in the skill which we're looking for for our future management graduates. Their ability to comprehend, interpret, and analyze what the computers are telling us and give us a decision around what an organization should be. So that's what we call as a cognitive skill. The second bucket which we are looking for is a social skill. And this has become extremely important in a situation where majority of our clients and where we deliver from is distributed. So social skills is not only about face-to-face, how you talk on a phone, what is your body language when you're talking on a phone? Are you able to appreciate the culture? Are you able to appreciate the time zone differences? Are you able to appreciate that even if you're not face-to-face, the requirements will not be as detailed as if you are 10,000 miles away? Are you able to gel well with today with an American, tomorrow with a European, day after with a Singaporean, and so on and so forth, whose understanding of the same word is very, very different. So social skills, which comprises communication, which comprises collaboration, which comprises your ability to look at the big picture, which comprises your ability to empathize with the client and the client empathy, or your ability to do consulting, becomes extremely important as part of the social skills. The third bucket which we are looking at is the technology skills. And if you go back to my comment that the shelf life of a technology today is anywhere between 6 to 18 months, if you have closed yourself to learning just because you think that you are a subject matter expert and you do not need to learn anymore, that is the end of your journey as far as the career in today's world is. So the primary thing which we are looking for when we're going into the market in the digital world is a person's ability to comprehend and be in a continuous learning mode, so that they are in sync with the technology shifts which are happening very, very rapidly. However, there's a big pitfall there which I wanted to highlight, that many of our graduates which we are seeing, they say, I want to do 6 months this, 6 months that, 6 months, and so on and so forth. That doesn't work. You need to have, that's my personal view, that you need to have one skill on which you are deep, and which what we call as a T skill. It could be in the Java space if you're in IT, or it could be SAP if you're in IT, or it could be manufacturing in automotive manufacturing. You could be an industry expert. You could be anything. Doesn't matter. It could be anything. It could be even from a medicine. We hire doctors. But you should be a subject matter expert in one area, and then, like the top of the T, you have to continuously learn and build skills on an ongoing basis. All this will only bear fruit when you are not only looking at theory, but you have to merge that theory with a lot of business practices to make it real. And that's a combination of these three is what we require in the graduates which we expect in the future, which is cognitive, social, and technology. So I'll just quickly summarize. There are three changes which we're seeing in the market in terms of customers, which is the last experience is the first expectation. Secondly, from a market perspective, it is agile. Thirdly, technology has short shelf life. Those are things which are changing. How companies are addressing this change is by changing their product portfolio and how they take it to the market, how they produce. They are investing significantly to be much more agile to meet those three customer requirements. And the third thing is, what does it mean in terms of skills? Skills need to be not only the technology skills. Let's say you're an engineer, you could be a brilliant engineer. Do we need engineers? Absolutely, yes. But on top of those technology skills, on top of those engineering skills, on top of those commerce skills, on top of those law skills, we need skills which are around cognitive, around social, and around technology. So I'll stop with that, but happy to take questions. Mr. Shekhar, back to you.
Hello. So thank you very much, Mr. Roy, for your wonderful presentation on what does this new world of digital mean in terms of particularly those participants who are going to be working in this new world order, and what are the skill sets that are required. So now I would request all the participants to post their questions in the Q&A section, and I transfer the moderation to Mr. Shekhar.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thank you, Sreejit, for being there. And thank you to all the participants. And my apologies for the initial little delay that we had on account of, what now I call as a technical problem. So I see a few questions now, and I'm going to read them out. And the first question is from Chandrasekhar. Are the companies mentioned as part of the advisory board the only companies who will be here for this program, who will be hiring for this program? Rajesh, would you like to answer that?
No. So advisory board's purpose is to guide the institute in the design of the curriculum and to bring the real life to the classroom. As far as placement goes, that's a completely different thing. And any company which is already digital or which has aspirations to become digital would be the companies which would potentially be coming to the campus for placements.
That's right. So what we would like to mention here is that the reason for having the advisory board is of a different category or a different purpose altogether. This is to make sure that what is being taught is relevant to the industry, so that the industry is quite excited in coming to the campus for placements. However, the placement is a function of a different nature altogether, where many companies from diverse backgrounds come in. And they continue to look at candidates of the profile that they are interested in. And that's how the campus placement activities progresses. So it is not limited to the number of companies or number of representatives we have on the advisory board. That will be a limited number. But in terms of organizations visiting the campus for placement and other interactions, it is quite an increasing number by the year. So there is another question which starts off by saying, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening to you too. Thank you for the details. Could you please shed some light on the stringency of the minimum requirements? Does the admission committee scrutinize an applicant's profile holistically, where if an applicant is falling short on the minimum work experience, could other stronger aspects of application help one to secure admission to the program? Rajesh, again, I would.
Yeah. So as far as the minimum requirements for the entry in the programs are concerned, a minimum 3 years work experience is non-negotiable. So if you don't have that, we would encourage you to wait till you have that and then apply again.
Yeah, and there isn't anything else, right, Rajesh, in terms of something that we use?
No, so the admission will happen on the basis of the GMAT or GRE score. We look at the profile of the candidate in terms of experience, the academic record till in the graduation. And so those kinds of things in totality will make the profile of the candidate. But if a person falls short of 3 years work experience, that person will not be eligible to be considered for this program.
So I think with a little background to this, I'm preempting a question or answering a question that is yet to be asked, is do we use any cutoffs, or do we pay greater attention to certain kinds of scores, either in GMAT or GRE? Any thought you would like to share on that?
So we do not have prescribed cutoffs for GMAT or GRE. As we mentioned that we look at the candidate's profile holistically. One of the components of this entire profile is a GMAT or GRE score. So in previous such webinars, we have several participants asking that question. So maybe thanks, Mr. Shekhar, for preempting that.
Yeah, so what it means is that somebody with 35 months of work experience does not qualify for this program. That's the kind of rigidity that is there in this particular selection process. Rest of it is a judgment call that happens based on the profile that comes in. Om Kale has asked a question. What are the expectations related to technical skill or working profile that IMU considering while selecting student for this program? So he has a follow-up question too. What are future scope and campus expectations from this program considering first year of it? Rajesh?
Yeah. So while it is common as in a general management program that most of the applicants are engineers, but it's important to know that's not a prerequisite. Any graduate who has interest in the field of digital is keenly interested in data and technology is very welcome to apply. So we are not necessarily looking for people who have technical engineering background. Answering the second question, what is the future scope? It is true that this is the first year of our program, but we have the experience of running the 2-year program for now in the 9th year, and the 1-year program in the 6th or 7th year as far as the global supply chain management program is concerned. So we are very confident that this program has received very high quality input from industry professionals, and we as an institution are committed to design and deliver a very high quality program. As a result, we expect that the placement should be decent.
Thank you, Rajesh. I'm just posing this question to Sreejit for his view. Sreejit, I would like you to comment on this. There is a general expectation or feeling that anybody wanting to do a course must have an engineering background. Would you like to throw some light on this?
No, so we hire a lot of non-engineers, and the IT industry as such hires a lot of non-engineers now because of the requirements of design thinking and the way we started to deliver. So the trend has changed. Okay,
because even in the recent CAT, I think the toppers are all engineers and males. That's what comes in the paper. The ones who got 100 percentile. Apurva Tiwari asked a question. Thank you, sir, for enlightening overview of the program. Can you elaborate more on the faculty experience which IIM Udaipur will offer, and especially this with respect to this program? Rajesh?
Right. So as far as the faculty involvement in this program is concerned, the module, which is largely to do with the fundamentals of business management concepts, would be the faculty members from IIM Udaipur. Also, when it gets into the pillar of data and technology and other pillars, we shall have faculty members from IIM Udaipur, and those faculty members are also already interacting with the industry and understanding the issues and challenges faced by these companies which are moving to digital. But on top of that, I also would like to mention that we shall have a variety of industry speakers, guest faculty, who will come and teach in this program. So industry engagement in program delivery also is going to be there. So I think overall, we are quite ready to deliver this program holistically.
Apurva, adding to that, this particular program has 100 credits, as we call it. A credit is a certain number of hours that the faculty spends time with the student. Now, in a 100 credit course, we are expecting at least 20 to 30 credits coming from the industry. And this number will go up because there is a 16 credit purely on projects. And these projects are independent. So out of 84 credits that are there, about 25 to 30 credits will be taught by the industry professionals. That's the kind of emphasis this particular course has as far as industry is concerned. I hope that answers your question. Anuj Sharma, what's the average GMAT score that you accept?
So, as we mentioned a little while ago, we do not have a minimum GMAT score prescribed, and we look at the applicant's profile holistically. So I cannot give you a specific number at this stage.
Thank you, Rajesh. Akshay Naik, the third module will consist of projects. Any insight on the projects? Rajesh, with your permission, shall I answer this?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Sreejit, I would welcome you also to speak on this particular aspect on projects. So it's actually the third module, or what we are now referring to as Pillar 5 in the presentation, is about projects that the students are expected to do. And there are two kinds of projects that every student needs to do. One is on analytics, and the expectation out of analytics is the ability to handle large volume data, which is what digital is all about. And using that, how do you infer exactly what Sreejit said, in terms of the example he took of an accountant? How do you infer from that data to make more useful management decisions? So that's what this project on analytics is expected to teach a student. And this project work is done in group of about 2 to 4 on an average. We are looking at 3. And typically the scope of these projects would translate into 200 person hours. So which means if there are 3 people in a group, 600 person hours of project work will actually get done by the team, which would be evaluated by the industry and the faculty. The second project is on technology. In technology, what we're actually bringing in is the ability to understand the capability of a technology, be it artificial intelligence or blockchain or IoT, as to how they can transform a business or a business process in a given context. So these are projects coming across industries. In that, a particular business process is taken and the application of technology on these processes to show what is the kind of benefit an organization can expect by implementing such a technology is the purpose of doing this project. So both these projects together, when you see it, you get the experience of dealing with large volume data. You also get a first-hand experience of dealing with technology, which organizations are actually in the process of implementing as part of their digital transformation strategy. So that's the kind of concept we are trying to bring in. Sreejit, would you like to add something here?
No, I agree with you, Shekhar.
Okay.
I agree with
you. Ratnendra KP, I studied journalism in my graduation. It simply means I'm from non-quant background. Will I face any issue while learning during the course? Rajesh?
Yes, so as we mentioned that we are not really looking for a technical background. But having said that, it's also important to say that if you're joining a program on digital, you have to really be interested in this field of data and technology. If you're keenly interested, then I'm sure there is no issue.
So, Ratnendra, there is definitely a particular change that's happening even in journalism, where digital is playing an important role and things are getting transformed there. But to actually get onto the brass tacks of it, it also means that there is a lot of data that gets captured and there's a lot of analysis that is done. There is also the presence of new technologies in that particular industry, which one needs to be aware of. Now, where we draw a line is after doing this course, will you work as a technologist somewhere? The chances are few. Will you work as a manager? The chances are very high. So that's how this course is, conceptualized. So in the process of this, there would be certain elements of quant, as much as Sreejit pointed out, of communication that is required for the student to understand how much of quant and how much of non-quant is required for getting through this particular course. But at the end of the day, are you in a position to look at quant in the perspective that it requires to be and not feel challenged by it in terms of saying, oh, this is something I have a mind block against? So if you have an open mind, I'm sure you'll go through this particular program and find it to be absolutely great for you. Anuj Sharma, how does the college help in placements?
So we shall have placement cell look at this DEM program very seriously. This is the first year of our program. So, just as we pay a special attention to all our graduates, this program also will receive the similar attention of placement. And in fact, we're already in touch with the industry, as I said a little while ago, and industry collaboration will also create opportunities for placement. So we are confident that it should offer decent placement.
Thank you, Rajesh. Aishwarya Sarda has a question. He starts off by saying, good evening all. Talking about pillar 3, dealing with data and technologies, could you please tell what all tools will be used? So I would presume this is a question on data in terms of whether There are sessions on tools like R or Python and those kind of things. Aishwarya, at this point of time, we are not focusing on tools. Tools is something that the faculty would decide. And the faculty teaching you this would tell you whether you need to know the tool or you need to be working on a tool, and support you adequately when you have to actually work on a particular tool. As I said a little while ago, the emphasis is not on the tool or the technology. The emphasis is on how you use these tools for decision making. Rajesh, would you want to add anything here?
No, thanks. That's all.
Okay. Akshay Naik, also the projects will happen in the last module, so the projects might not be showcased during the placement interviews. This is a brilliant question, I must say. So I'm going to take a shot at it. Akshay, you're absolutely right in terms of scheduling of the projects and the timing of campus placements. The campus placement may actually precede the activity of projects, but the projects needed wait till the last term. It can start even in the first term, and you allocate time for understanding the project, discussing those projects, planning for those projects as a team, and move that project as much as you can so that you have a framework of the project to even talk at the point of campus placement. The purpose of project is to give you the confidence when you go to work. It is not to give you the confidence at the time of placement to saying that you've done something, but saying that you have understood concepts and you'll be putting those concepts into practice in your project. So that's the stage you would be at. So you would be tested in your concepts when you are facing the placement situation. Rajesh, anything you would like to add here?
No, thanks.
Apurva Tiwari, how does IMU view the recent slowdown in the economy, and will it have any impact on placements as such for candidates?
Okay, so the way I would look at it is this, that once we go to the school and acquire a qualification, this is for lifetime. It is true that we have economic cycles and we see the ups and downs, and it is possible that some of these cycles can impact the placement activity to some extent. But I would urge you to think it in this way, that the qualification that you will acquire is not only for a year or 2 years, it's lifetime. And it may have some impact in the compensation or the kinds of companies, etc., that visit the campus. But I would just urge you to look at the long term and not only the short term.
Sreejit, any view of yours on this?
So sorry, I missed the question.
Yeah, I'll just repeat it. How does IMU view the recent slowdown in the economy? And will it have any impact on placements as such for candidates? So I'm requesting you to look at the first part. How does industry respond to slowdown?
So, see, will there be an impact in the senior levels? Probably yes, but I don't see as of now an immediate impact today. There have what's in the papers. People are already aware that people have been laid off and all, but those happen BAU in my view. Maybe a little more here, little more there, but summary, I don't see an immediate big impact yet.
And if I may add one more thing, that talking of slowdown, currently our 2-year MBA program is going through placements. And we have seen actually a better placement this year compared to the previous year. So that's where is also the question, how much can we correlate, and agreeing to the point that Mr. Roy mentioned, that it also is a question of what is the level that we are talking about.
True. Thank you. This is anonymous. Will DEM graduates be able to apply for all the companies who come for the PGP course?
So the way the placement works is that the companies make a decision as to which course and which graduates they're interested in. So even now we have a 2-year MBA program, which is general management program, and a 1-year MBA program on global supply chain management. So these two placement processes run parallelly, and the companies make a decision whether they want to recruit students from both of them or one of them. So it is not up to us, it is on the companies to take a decision.
Thank you. Another anonymous. Are candidates from IT background expected to be proficient in Python, R, or similar skills? The quick answer is no, irrespective of whether you're from the IT or non-IT background. It can help you in sailing through some of those sessions by faculty to understand technology, but it is not a prerequisite. Rajesh, anything you want to add here?
No, nothing more to add, thanks.
Aman Chaudhary, what is going to be the batch size for this program?
So we don't have any specific number in mind. So we are looking at a quality program and quality participants, but we are hoping somewhere in the range of 40 in the program. But that number, as I said, is not cast in stone. And what we are interested in and committed to is to having quality participants in the program.
Thank you. Prasanna Thwait, good evening, everyone. I want to ask that what percentage of contact hours could we expect from the advisory board out of total number of hours? I'm going to answer that, and I'm not letting Sreejit say anything now. He's on the advisory board. Whatever the advisory board does is outside of these hours. So let me also tell you that the advisory board is actually very keen to interact with students, and there are different conversations happening with them in terms of saying when they can come and speak to students. But whenever they come and speak, it is not part of the credit for the course. It is over and above that. So you will have those kind of engagements with the advisory board over the 1-year period. Besides, as Rajesh mentioned in his presentation, these are also industry visits. So there are people from the industry who would come and speak to you, which are all part of the non-credit hours that is there. So overall, you have 100 hours and plus. That's how it would be. Typically, when we say 100 credits, not 100 hours, I'm sorry, 100 credits, it translates into roughly 2.5 times of that in terms of a student time. Am I right, Rajesh? It would be about 270 or 300 hours.
Sorry, I missed the last bit. Sorry, I missed the last bit.
The 100 credit actually translates into 7,500 hours, correct?
Yeah, so 7.5 hours makes a credit.
Yeah, so 750 hours. So 750 hours into about 3 times is the student time. So about 2,250 is what a student is going to be spending in learning.
That's right.
Akhil Birajdar, what kind of companies in terms of industry are expected to visit the campus? Only tech companies will be visiting. Rajesh, would you like to answer this?
Well, I mean, so we have the experience of global supply chain management program of 1 year where we have variety of companies visiting us. I think the kind of companies who are likely to visit for this program are the companies which are already in the digital space or have ambitions to get into the digital space. I think if you'd like to add some more, Shekhar.
Yeah, so when we say IT, we are looking at IT companies like how Sreejit mentioned, but there are management consulting firms, there are consumer product companies, there are banks and banking companies that are interested. So the variety is large here, and digital does not conform or limit itself to one industry or one process. So people from across, for instance, there is interest coming from media and entertainment too. So these are all the kind of companies that can make a visit to the campus for placement. So Shama has a question. First of all, thank you so much, Mr. Roy. It was greatly insightful to be reassured of the realities, even though this is what we experience on a daily basis in our work life. But putting it in right words is very necessary for correct messaging. So, Sreejit, that's a compliment to you from Shama. It's not a question. So I'll take it as answered that you've liked the compliment.
Thank you.
Apurva Tiwari, are there pre-courses we should do before coming over for the program? Rajesh?
So all the selected candidates, we share some material on quantitative techniques. So help you brush up your quants. And that apart, we don't expect any more pre-arrival courses that you have to have.
So I'm changing this question a little in terms of, will there be pre-courses at any point of time rather than just placing it before the arrival point? So there will be courses as add-on that you will be doing, which would be something that the faculty would be guiding you and asking you to look at as courses that you need to be doing in order to understand some of these concepts better. And that's a faculty's prerogative. So be mentally prepared that there are many courses that may come in the way of the DEM program itself. So it's not just before you join that there are some learning material or certain guidelines given to you. It's also in the course of the program, you can have some extra courses being taken.
Mr. Shekhar, Shekhar, I have to go. Apologies, I have a call. But
sure.
Thank you very much and all the best. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Divij Kulkarni, Sreejit sir, oh, he just left. You really beautifully put the skills requirement in the 3 buckets structure. As somebody who does not come from a tech background, how should he look forward to an aspiring career in digital-based organization? How can he differentiate himself, particularly when social skills are looked at as merely as an add-on to the technical skills, as per my limited understanding? How can an MBA DEM help in this endeavor? Divij, my answer is going to be shorter than the question. In today's context, employment and employability are not on the basis of your technical skills alone or your capability of the past. It is how you can adapt and how can you communicate more effectively and see the future is where these skills are important. And it really does not matter whether you worked in manufacturing and you're moving to IT or you worked in IT and you're moving to retail. It really doesn't matter these days. It is the kind of experience and the knowledge that you're able to carry forward to look at how business situations can be addressed. That's the skill people are looking for. So communication plays an important role. And that's what Sreejit also mentioned in part of the social skills, that communication, empathy are important aspects when you are working in a disconnected world, physically connected through internet. Rajesh, anything?
No, thanks. Nothing to add.
Mohit Das, hello sirs, thanks for the presentation. My question is to Mr. Roy, but he's just left, Mohit. I hope you allow one of us to answer your question. You mentioned, and it is very evident, that the shelf life of tech is around 18 months. What suggestions do you have for prospective MBA grads who don't necessarily have to code per se, but still be able to formulate strategies with respect to ever-changing technologies? How do you think MBA grads can cope up with the change and contribute significantly to organizations? Any courses, websites that you recommend to keep up? Mr. Roy, could you give one such example from your rich tenure at IBM, being an MBA grad yourself? Roy isn't here to answer, so I'm going to take the liberty of answering this question. In our careers too, change has happened, but it has happened a little gradually. So what we learned and what we learned in school, what we learned later on at workplace, the kind of roles we performed actually gradually changed. But the change that is happening now is much faster. And that's what Mr. Roy was trying to indicate as a shelf life. For instance, Today, there is a big demand for skills in R and Python. Will that continue for the next 15, 20 years? The answer is a clear no. Whereas if you look at what was happening with respect to ERP, they started off somewhere in mid-90s and they still continue. So they had a longer life of about 15, 20 years of being in the mainstream. And therefore, skills around those products actually got employment to people. That's not going to be the case. Here, the case is about ability to learn, demonstrate that new knowledge that has been acquired, and the ability to move on. And that is where the agility factor comes in. And that is what is there not only in the product, but also in the personality of the people. So that's important as we move on to the digital. And it's not in one area or in one industry, it is right across. So you could be in mining and you could still have the impact of digital and therefore expecting you to change. Or you could be in movie making and entertainment, which uses a lot of technology, or in sport, and keep learning new things there. So that's how vast the impact of digital is going to be. Kunal Rajput, thank you very much, Mr. Roy, for your wonderful presentation. Besides cognitive and social, it is also advisable for business graduates to be SME in at least, that is subject matter experts in at least one of the disruptive technologies to be successful product manager in the era of digital information. So there's a question mark at the end of it, but it appears more like a suggestion. Kunal, expertise is always expected in some areas. That's why that work experience that you have stands in place of the experience or the expertise that you bring in. Beyond that is how can you apply or how can you conceptualize? Those are the things that are expected to make a big difference. And when we talk about disruptive technologies, it is not just in technology that disruption happens. Disruption happens on account of very many other factors, led by technology or not led by technology, irrespective of that. So there are new methods, new processes, new engagements, new experiences to work on, which may have nothing to do with technology, but still become the driving force for the business to survive. Like Mr. Roy said, the last experience becomes a benchmark for the next one. Is a matter where technology is not important, but the ability to understand that experience and therefore keep upping it is the ability of the business to sustain that customer. So these are factors that come in where product management becomes important, or the skills in product management beyond just looking at data and technology becomes relevant. How can you therefore bring in new practices or conceptualize ideas that can give a better experience or have a better engagement with customers, or look at what kind of products customers are aspiring for? These are things that manifest in the roles of product manager than just looking at the technology capability in, say, an analytics or in artificial intelligence. Shama Waria has one more. It's thank you, IMU, for this webinar with Mr. Sreejit Roy. I'm repeating myself here, but I would still like to go ahead and ask you that can you please advise if I can go with comparatively lower score of GMAT and apply in cycle 3, or give GMAT again, try to increase the score and apply in cycle 4 for a greater chance of selection, keeping in mind that other aspects of the application would do fine to go ahead in either cycle. Once again, thank you so much, Professor Shekhar and Rajesh. So it is Rajesh and it is Professor Rajesh and Shekhar. Just a little clarification. Rajesh, would you like to take that?
Right. So it's your call, judgment call, as to whether you want to apply in cycle 3 or 4. Having said that, you would agree that a higher GMAT score certainly improves your chances as one of the important components of the evaluation. So that's a call that Shama, you have to take, whether with your current score you want to apply now, or you would like to rewrite. But certainly, as I said, if your score is higher, it certainly makes an impact in the application review process. You'd like to add something, Shekhar?
I would actually make a similar statement in terms of, the impact of a lower score is that it kinds of, brings all other capabilities down as far as the profile is concerned, because the selection panel would look at it more in terms of saying, will this person be able to go through the rigor of the program? That's what it kind of indicates. Because if you get a good score in GMAT, it means that you are capable of managing numbers, you're capable of managing communication, which are two important aspects of this particular program, and therefore you have the ability to write through the rigors of this particular program. So at a generic level, I would like to say that this one-year program is not a simple course. It is rigorous, it is demanding, and we expect or we want the students to come of a capability that they can withstand the pressures of this particular course. That's why these particular internationally acclaimed exams of GMAT and GRE are used as benchmark. Kunal Rajput, it's a second question from him. In terms of analytics project, it would require skills in data analysis tools. Would the program cover trainings in such tools as well? Rajesh, with your permission, I will take this question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So Kunal, I think we mentioned this. We are not going to train you on a particular tool. Now, if there is a need for you to work on a particular tool, we'll try and make sure that you get familiarized with this, which is outside of this particular course. So you have to use some of your other time to understand that tool, and that's driven by the faculty. So you cannot look at it in terms of saying that while I'm learning analytics, I also become an expert on the tool. That's not what this course will help you in. What this course will clearly help you in is to understand data, and using data, how can you lead to decisions, and with those decisions, how can you make an impact? That's what the program is intended to provide. If the question, like it was asked earlier, whether it is something to do with Java in some place, or R or Python, it may be good for you to pick up those skills. It's not something that this program is going to provide you skills on. Chandrasekhar Dwivedi, is there general expectation of candidates from IT background to have knowledge on Python or R? I think I've just answered that, and the answer remains the same. No, whether from IT or non-IT, we do not expect you to have knowledge of Python or R as a prerequisite. But there is no harm if you have that knowledge to see how you can leverage that in the curriculum. That's how it would be. Aishwarya Sardas, good evening all. Talking about the pillar number 3, dealing with data and technologies, could you please tell what all tools will be used? I think this question was answered earlier. There are no tools that we're talking about, Aishwarya. Anuj Sharma, I understand, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Anuj. Appreciate. Anuj Sharma, another question, sir. I'm currently working as a pre-sales engineer in a media software company, and eventually my goal is to enter sales. Will this program help me in achieving my goal? Rajesh?
So it's a hard one to answer. That the question is, digital is the way of doing business now, and that's an approach. Now, there are applications perhaps in the sales as well. Now, whether it really aligns well with your goal is something for you to judge. Would you like to compliment, Shekhar?
Yes, I would like to add here, Anuj, you are working as a pre-sales engineer in a media software company. So I presume you understand some bit of domain and some bit of technology as far as your role is concerned. Sales may require you to have different kinds of skills. So this particular program is going to broaden your knowledge on sales, or broaden your knowledge in terms of an organization and various roles that are there in an organization. However, there are some core skills, and those skills have to come from within. So which could be persuasiveness, which could be ability to interact with prospects or do cold calling, depending on what the situation is. handling rejections or handling objections. These are very many skills that are required in sales, which you may have to actually either acquire, or if it is within you already, then explore that to see how you can enter sales. Typically, a management program is also a path changer for many people. So when I say path changer, it means you could be doing a particular kind of role, and after doing a management program, you could get into doing a different kind of role altogether. So that's possible. So what you're saying is, from a pre-sales to a sales role, that possibility exists, but will that help you in achieving your goal? I'm not too sure whether we have understood your goal to be just getting the first job in sales, or to be an excellent salesperson and becoming a sales leader in future. So you will have the knowledge, but you need to have the skills to back that knowledge too. Anonymous, as 2 cycles are already completed, how many seats are filled till date?
Right. So if you are a candidate applying for this program in the current cycle, and if your profile is compelling, you needn't worry about the fact that 2 cycles are over. So we are looking at, in any admission process which is staggered, good candidates who have, compelling profiles are always welcome, even in the last cycle. So that's all I can say for this. You would like to add anything?
No, I'm perfect with that.
Yeah.
Anonymous, thank you for your response, sir. I have a follow-up question. How many candidates are selected in a cycle on an average? Is a candidate with any specific background preferred? What are the most critical qualities you are looking for in a candidate? Any tips will be useful. Let me answer this, Rajesh, because I am on the interviewing panel in most cases.
Please go ahead.
So the first few questions, the answer is no. Do we have a preference, or how many candidates get selected in a cycle? There is no benchmark there or no number. But the last part is, what are the most critical qualities you're looking for in a candidate? So there are a few things that come across. One is, when you, as part of your profile, you need to post your video profile. So that's the first judgment call we make about your ability to communicate. Perhaps in many cases, we know that these are scripted talks that are coming in. So in the course of the interview, we also check whether you're able to understand and articulate things of interest to you, things of knowledge to you, as well as things that are probably happening for the first time. So how quickly can you think? How well and deep can you think? How good is your ability to connect similar kinds of trends in the business world as compared to your work? These are the kind of qualities we are looking at. So it is not a textbookish question and answer that happens. In fact, some of these attendees of today's program have actually been offered the admission, so they could probably tell you a few things about that in terms of what the interviewers look for. This is anonymous. Will the students be provided with a PGPM or a PGDM degree?
Okay, so when you say PGDM is postgraduate diploma, and so I'd like to clarify that we shall be awarding not a diploma, but an MBA degree. MBA is Master of Business Administration degree. Ever since all IIMs come under the ambit of Indian Institute of Management Act of Government of India, we have been empowered to grant both diplomas and degrees. So we shall be granting the degree of MBA to the attendees of the DEM program.
Thank you, Rajesh. Shantanu, your question has been answered earlier. Any cutoff score for GRE GMAT? The answer is no. We look at the overall profile. There's another question, how many seats are filled up? Don't worry about that. This has also been answered. Anonymous, what will be the difference in learning when it comes to a regular MBA from IIM Udaipur and the DEM course? I'm more concerned about what I'd probably trade off by losing 1 year of coursework.
Okay, so in a general program, 2-year program, what happens is that you have 1 year of general management courses, and the second year is all about electives in the area of functional area of your choice where you want to specialize, such as marketing, finance, and the others. In this program of 1 year MBA in Digital Enterprise Management, the focus is different in the sense that we are talking about management concepts. Sure, we all have to learn about the management concepts because the degree in MBA, but in the context of digital. So here, the graduates of the MBA DEM program are people who will have understanding of the management disciplines, but especially dovetailed to the context of the digital and understanding of how a digital enterprise functions. So these are, in a way, two different kinds of program. I don't think you should see in terms of losing 1 year or gaining 1 year. Would you like to add some more?
No, I think that's fine. It is not about gaining or losing. There are two different aspects which come up, and that's why both have a presence in the context of management education. Shama Varia, my humble apologies, Professor Rajesh and Shekhar. No, not a problem at all, Shama. Sometimes it's fine to be called a professor. Thank you so much for the answer and suggestion. Would surely follow and get back. Once again, thanks a lot. And all the best to you. Wish you good luck. Apurva Tiwari, what extracurricular clubs and committees are present at IMU?
So there are a whole host of clubs and committees to do with, just to give an example, there is a club which is on Finance Club, which looks at all the developments in the world of finance and economics. There is an activity with respect to entrepreneurship. There is an activity with respect to public policy group. So there are some 20 or 30 odd such clubs and committees that people can be part of.
And of course, there is sports and other events.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Aman Chaudhary, what is the range of work experience of participants of the course? Will a greater work experience, 8 to 9 years, going be advantage or disadvantage?
Okay, so this is a good question. That typically, if you have longer number of years of experience, you would be expecting, you would be typically at a higher level of compensation in your organization. So, as the number of years of experience increases, in a way it becomes harder for us to get a placement which beats your current compensation. So that's a judgment call that you have to take. But we have had students participate with even 10 years of experience. Yeah, with even 10 years of experience in the previous program. So, but you're absolutely right that typically 6 to 8 is a good band, or I would say 4 to 8 is a good band. But as it gets higher than 8 years, then matching a placement becomes that much of a challenge. But having said that, I would also like to say that here is an opportunity to upgrade your skill and get a qualification which is going to stick with you with lifetime. And that's a trade-off that you have to consider. And ultimately, you have to take that judgment call. Anything you'd like to add?
A little here, Rajesh. Aman, your question is very relevant. It is only during the interaction or during when we interact face-to-face that we're able to judge whether 8 or 9 years is fine or not. There are some cases where we have looked at these extra experiences largely because the person is moldable. The person seems to understand that she or he needs to change in order to become more attractive for the companies that are coming in. It comes from this fact that, after 8 or 9 years, are you in a position to learn and apply new concepts in newer areas too? That is what will be a challenge. Besides, of course, if you're already at a threshold or at a compensation level that is way beyond what this institute normally attracts, then that becomes the other part. So we do look at the profile in that perspective of saying, while this person shows interest in learning, can this person also become attractive for placements. So that's how we look at it. So your 8 years, I would definitely say the industry looks at it very favorably because it brackets greater than 8 into another segment. So 9, 10, 11 become another segment. But 4 to 8 is one broad segment that they look at. Anonymous attendee, please help us understand the average CTC for placements for GSCM, PD, PGDM. I have seen the average to be around 16 LPA. Will DEM average be higher than this?
Well, it's difficult to hazard a guess as to what the average numbers will look like. It's a function of several things. It's a new program, first of its kind in the country. So we would hope that the kind of rigor we are bringing in this program, the courses, the faculty, interaction with the industry, we shall have very many positives to offer to the industry. What will it translate in terms of an actual number is hard for anyone to guess. So I think you would agree when we say that it will be hard for us to hazard a guess whether it will be, more or how much more, etc., compared to other programs.
Yeah, so see, the compensation is strictly between the visiting company and the candidate. And they decide what is right at that point of time. So it does vary. And when we look at average at the end of the day gives one part of the story. It may not necessarily give the complete story. So if the candidate is bright and the organization that's coming in likes the candidate, I think this particular average will look very small in comparison. However, if the performance on that particular day is not so great, then the numbers would tend to shift towards the lower side of it. So it's a dynamic situation. You can look at it in terms of saying that, this particular program gets your return on investment in a 9 to 24 month cycle. So that's, typically how we would look at this particular program's impact. Anonymous attendee is, thanks for answering my question about difference in DEM and regular MBA. I understand the benefits of DEM over regular MBA, but my question was more about what will be the major thing I will miss out by not taking up a regular MBA as against the DEM course.
Okay, so let me kind of spend a minute more on this to clarify. So in a 2-year MBA program, suppose you are a person who wants to specialize in marketing. So what would happen is you would have some exposure to the field of marketing in the first year. And in the second year, you would consciously choose electives in the field of marketing. Likewise, those who want to specialize in finance, so they can specialize in finance. When it comes to the DEM program, we are not talking about specializations in the field of marketing, finance, and other functional field of management. We're talking about specializing in the field of digital. That is already chosen before the course begins. And that is where it's your commitment to the field of digital, data and technology. Whether this excites you, then this is the course for you. But if you think that you want to be specializing in the field of finance, and finance is what attracts you, and that's the only thing that attracts you, then perhaps DEM is not the course for you. Then you should be looking at an MBA in finance or MBA in marketing. So it's not the question of missing, it's a question of what your priorities are.
Thank you, Rajesh. Anonymous attendee, I have applied in cycle 3. I feel my GMAT score is on the lower side and I'm planning to give the exam again before 15th, before the cycle ends. Will my new score be considered? Also, I have missed to add my video in the application. Is there any way I can add it now?
Right, so I'll answer both your questions. You're very welcome to rewrite your GMAT and improve your score before 15th, and we shall consider your new GMAT score. If you have forgotten to add your video, you please connect with the admissions office and they'll help you how to add that video now. So not a problem.
Thank you. Karamveer Lohan, sir, after this 1-year MBA, one is eligible for research program as part of MHRD guidelines. One should have 2 years master's program.
So I think, Karamveer, you are referring to enrolling in a PhD program. So so our understanding is that different universities and institutions look at this one-year program differently, and we are not very certain about eligibility of one-year MBA program for pursuing a PhD program. So I would encourage you to check with the concerned university where you propose to enroll as a PhD candidate, if at all, to check with them whether they would consider a one-year MBA program as equivalent to a master's degree. But as I said, the experience could be variable.
Kunal Rajput, thank you, gentlemen, for taking time to answer our queries. I applied for 2020 batch, but wasn't shortlisted. I look forward to applying again next year and be part of the prestigious IMU cohort. Thank you, Kunal, and appreciate your interest in this particular program. And we wish you all the best and look forward to meeting you in 2021. Anonymous, it would be really helpful if IMU can schedule another webinar by the selected candidates for DEM to let the probable applicants know how to go through the application, what to expect in an interview, and what to do, what the selectors look for. Maybe difficult to do it that way. If you happen to know somebody who's been selected, it would be easier for you. Like I said, I'm there in most of the interviews, so these are the kind of things that we look for, and you can feel free to write to us if you have any further queries on this. The average CTC for PGDM is 18. Will the DEM have a similar pay? I think we've addressed this a little differently. It can be in that particular range, but it's actually a factor of which company and what they're actually looking for. Rajesh, anything you want to add here specific?
No, so the current batch placement data is not yet out. The placement is on, so we don't have the data. And as Mr. Shekhar mentioned, that the likely compensation for DEM is hard to predict. It is very much, the company specific, candidate specific, but yeah, hard to predict.
Yep. So typically it's in that 9 months to 24 months range of return on investment kinds. So 24 is actually a long stretch. I don't think anybody would be in that category, but typically, closer to this number should be the average. There are many non-IT companies going for digital transformation. In the DEM, would we be having any external speakers from such industries to have better understanding of the market requirements? The answer is an emphatic yes. See, digital is not about IT. It is, like we mentioned earlier, there are management consulting firms, there are consumer product, there are entertainment companies, which are all looking for digital, and the banking sector that's looking for digital. So we do bring in speakers from these industries to talk about. Typically, the student interest is to actually get people from their technology side or the analytics side to speak to them. So they come with the domain of, say, a banking or media or consumer product, but they really are interested in looking at it more from how digital works or how technology has made a difference. So we do bring in a lot of speakers from the industry, from various domains. I would actually like to mention, probably nobody spotted that in the presentation. In the pillar 4, we have one digital application in the industry of social sector. So we are also therefore bringing in people from that sector to say how digital is going to make an impact, or how digital has made an impact in the social sector. So that's how comprehensive we are trying to be in this particular course. Looks like the last question, anonymous. Can the deadline for payment of deposit be extended in any case? Is the deposit paid to reserve the seat is refundable in any case?
So the deadline for the payment of the deposit is not extendable, and nor the deposit paid as a reserve to the seat is refundable.
So if there is any particular context to this question, you may please write to us. We will probably give you more
Yeah.
specific response. But as a principle, no, neither of them is possible. So thank you, everyone who attended this session. This was the last question. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed speaking to you all and presenting about IIM Udaipur. Rajesh, to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shekhar. Thank you to Mr. Roy, who left the presentation for his wonderful talk. And thanks to all of you for patiently being with us throughout and listening to our presentation. And those who are the prospective candidates, wish you all the best in your inquiry about the program. And if you are attending interviews, wish you all the best there. Thank you and good night.
Good night.